So, here to explain more about the story and how it's working and how it hopes to help SMEs is Swoop's Chief Executive Officer, Andrea Reynolds. Andrea, thanks so much for joining us on Connections Radio today. Swoop, then, what do you do at Swoop exactly?
Yes, we are a one-stop shop for small and medium businesses looking to raise finance and cut their costs. And we do that through you being able to integrate your data sources, so your cloud accounting, online banking, company's house information, etc. We gather all that data so that you're not having to fill out lots and lots of forms. And then we match that to every form of finance in the market today. So loans, grants, equity investments, and then we analyze costs across utilities, banking, FX, insurance. The whole point here is to serve small and medium business owners who are incredibly time poor, incredibly busy, trying to run their businesses, keep them growing. And, you know, traditionally, it has been incredibly difficult for business owners to navigate the finance landscape and really understand how much they're paying for anything. And I thought, you know, data and cloud accounting, etc., was moving on at such a pace that finally we could bring a platform together to deliver that to business owners.
So this new grant finder then that has been introduced in association with NatWest Bank, how do companies find out about it, and how do they approach you and apply for such grants? And what sort of money are we talking about here, Andrea?
Yeah, so I guess just to the first part of your question, you know, how did this come about? We've created this specific tool just for grants with NatWest, so sponsored by NatWest. I suppose how can they find it? You go to natwest.swoopfunding.com, and that will land you on the exact page where you can do an eligibility checker on grants that are available to your business right now, what grants are open and live and your business may be eligible for. And that's where you can find out about the grant side of things. Of course, on our own platform, swoopfunding.com, as I mentioned, we have a data-driven platform where you can find out about every form of finance. But we were delighted. NatWest came to us because they said a lot of their customers were coming to them and asking them what else was there that didn't require more loans being taken out. A lot of businesses took out bounce back loans, and you know, they were on the furlough scheme, that deferral scheme, and all of these schemes are coming to an end. And it's about now, how do I reopen, recover, get my business going, deal with the impacts of Brexit? And really it was around having to look at every option that's out there to keep your business going. And of course, grants is one of the ways to do that.
And so this, just to make it clear, this is nothing to do with the government grant loan scheme that was out there, the bounce back loan. This is totally separate, isn't it?
This is not loans, yes. This is purely grants. And I think also it's important to say, you know, people might not understand, well, what does it mean to have a grant? A grant means that you do not have to repay it. It is a government intervention for specific reasons. And, you know, if your listeners are thinking, how do I, you know, in general, why would I think about going for a grant? There are pretty much 5 key areas with which interventions exist. So first being COVID and Brexit impact. The second being, if you are a business that's doing something innovative, so you're doing a bit of R&D and creating something innovative. Third being that you're looking to grow your business and you're going to do that through investing in, you know, whether it's a website or plant and equipment, hiring people. The next one is that you are looking to train your staff or to, you know, take on apprentices. And those are really the mainstay of why grants exist. And so if anyone's listening to this and saying, yep, I'm doing one of the above, then I would suggest they check out the tool.
It's fair to say, Andrea, isn't it, that a lot of SMEs, small operators, they rarely access the funding that's available to them. Why do you think that is?
Yes, pre-COVID, there was a YouGov poll taken, and it said that 71% of small and medium businesses had never applied for a government grant, and the government then say, well, we set aside hundreds of millions for SME intervention. Why the disconnect? And it's very easy to explain the disconnect. We are incredibly busy trying to run our businesses. We have to put priorities on, cash flow, customers, suppliers, etc. And traditionally, if you went to try and figure out whether you are eligible for a government grant, it's a pretty tedious and arduous process. So lots of searching, lots of clicking through to different grants, figuring out are you eligible, realizing that you're going to have to contribute to the project cost, etc. And I just thought, this is crazy. We rely upon small and medium businesses for our economic recovery. Why are we not serving them as the key priority customer? And that's why I looked at how we could use tech and data to drive a better service for businesses. So that's why lots of form filling, lots of searching, and still not knowing whether you're eligible or not. It can be quite confusing. There are hundreds of grant agencies. So there's 38 across the regions. You've got national agencies, you've got local authority ones. So how on earth are you supposed to navigate that without a tool like the Grant Finder tool?
A startling figure here. You really surprised me today when I read the release and the details of the story. 99% of all businesses in the UK are SMEs. So yes. if you are running a company, then a small to medium-sized business, and you've already taken out the government, the grants that the government have helped businesses with over COVID, there's nothing to stop you applying for this particular grant.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there's lots of grants for different reasons, as I say, and you may have used furlough, you may have had restriction of business grants, the immediate emergency grants that were distributed via the local authorities or HMRC with that deferral, etc. But now we're into the phase of, okay, we're coming out of lockdown, we're reopening, the economy is recovering. I might have to pivot my business to go online. I might have to pivot my business away from exporting to Europe and looking at other markets. All of these challenges are facing businesses. You might think, I need to become, more productive with what I have. I might need a new website. All of that. There are different grants for different reasons, and so don't think just because you've used one that you're not eligible for another. And grant schemes, by the way, they are fluid. One might be closed today; it will reopen again. We're also in a transition period of. Traditionally, grant funding came from the European Regional Development Fund. And of course, with Brexit, now the UK government is taking ownership of all grants for SMEs. And so what we're going to see towards the latter part of the year as well is a more grant programs being announced under the Shared Prosperity Scheme, which is the UK government now stepping in and filling that gap. Where Europe was. So it's an ever-changing landscape. But as I say, no business owner has to worry about that. They can keep rechecking in on the tool every so often, and they'll see what they're eligible for.
And just very quickly, is there a time scale for this? Is there a cut-off point for people applying for these grants, Andrea?
No, but I would say, so if it's through the regional grants, so coming from the local enterprise partnerships or coming from the local authorities, they're usually on a first come, first served basis. And so each one is given a pot of funding, and then they run the scheme for a period of time, but they'll also run it until they have actually distributed all of that cash. If it's for a grant in innovation, there is a set opening date and a set close date for that competition. And then they reopen further ones as the year progresses. So as I say, in addition to trying to find out, are you eligible, you also need to know the open and closing date. So that's what we monitor at all times to look at that. So I would say there are grants available at the moment. Ones like the Business Resilience and Recovery Grant for items like I just mentioned earlier, like reopening, reinvesting, pivoting, etc. And then you have always the mainstay in terms of energy efficiency grants. So how do you reduce carbon emissions or your energy bills? And then, of course, the mainstay on innovation and research and development.
Sounds like a great scheme. If anybody wants more details about how it operates and how to apply, Andrea, where do they go?
natwest.swoopfunding.com.
Fabulous. Great to talk to you, and good luck with the scheme. That's, of course, Andrea Reynolds, the Chief Executive Officer of Swoop. Thanks for joining us on Connections Radio today, Andrea.
Thanks for having me, Glenn.